Three songs that define that soundtrack is No Weapon by Fred Hammond, Never Would Have Made It, Marvin Sapp, and God I Get It by K. Michelle. The three songs that I'm currently listening to right now, I'm listening to albums actually.
Yeah,
So I'm listening to Janae Aiko, listening to her album currently. I'm listening to Drake Lane Demo. And I'm listening to Victory by Yolanda Adams.
Yes.
So I'm gonna call on someone, and what's gonna happen is the person who's next is gonna call on somebody else, and then
90
gonna call on
black
somebody
principles
else.
or 60,
Got
70,
it?
whatever's always double digits from that.
So I'm going to call on.
And just have an intelligent conversation. Learn something. Or get off.
Or do you need more time? No time?
Good, Ro.
All right. I'm going to call on Marissa. Miss Forrester.
I just knew she was gonna do that.
Definitely.
I need more time. That's a hard question, and my life is very complicated. So come back to me.
All right, cool.
Go to Mr. Eddie. Go to Eddie Johnson.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, who's that?
This Cal.
Cal.
I want to excuse myself on this one, although I might be able to go off the head, but I don't want to do that. And actually, if you can see, I'm on the road right now. So I don't have no pit. And when y'all call me, I'm stopping. I'm pulled over at a rest area for this.
My
You know what I
man.
mean? So at the end of the day, I'm listening to everybody else though, but I just want to be excused on this, because this is a 3-4 question. My mind don't function like that now. You know what I'm saying? You gotta give me one question at a time. But I'm just gonna listen in on this one, all right?
All right. Just Calvin Cook.
Eddie, it's your turn. Go ahead. Ready? Say,
I'm not ready yet.
you're not ready? All right, cool. All right, McLean.
Hold on.
Come on, McLean, you got this.
That one is a little bit tough right there, Hines. I'm gonna give you the theme is resilience. To one song, "The Eye of the Tiger." So that's deep. And what's on my playlist right now, in regards to that soundtrack?
No, just what's on your playlist right now. It doesn't have to be in regards to your soundtrack.
Oh, then my playlist just has all old school jam. It's a full Teddy Pendergrass, Gerald Levert. It's a full old school. It's the old school jam. Pandora's.
I was thinking more the other way.
I don't have a specific playlist.
Come on, Betsy. I thought you got this.
Listen,
Blue.
playlist.
I love you. It's okay.
Reverse the colors.
I listen to
okay.
everything.
So McLean,
Yeah,
pass
blue
it
with
on
the white in
somebody,
it.
please, and pass it
No,
on.
no.
Let me.
All right, so
I think it's the
I'm
star
gonna
star.
pass
That's what it
over
is.
to
Okay.
The star needs to be white. And the circle needs to be blue.
Okay.
Kyle. What's on your list, Kyle? Kyle Brown.
Maybe.
Okay, so I had to take out pen and paper. I had to think about this. This is a couple of steps in, but so the soundtrack of my life is probably "Let's Go Crazy," even though that's the name of an actual Prince song. That's just my personality to a certain extent. Very energetic, very outgoing, like to have fun. As far as the 3 songs. Man, I'm not sure because I'm up music in my mind and everything at the moment, including my playlist. I got
It's too
Alexa
busy
at
for a little
home. I
bit.
just yell out
I
stuff
think
for
you
it to
gotta
play.
take the off
So,
off it.
if you leave my son at the DJ wheel, I'll be listening to
Put
Let
the
It Go
OFC in the
and
main style.
Do You Want to Build a Snowman over and over again. But with me, I just say, Alexa, play songs by Prince. Alexa, play songs by New Edition. So those are some of my go-to.
Okay. So I'm gonna put on Dr. Small.
Oh,
Really?
that's the expert here.
All right, listen, my list is a little crazy, so bear with me. I think the theme of my list, I'm a big fan because I got a big head. Ultralight Beam, that's the theme. 3 songs on my playlist right now: Live Your Life, T.I., Drake, Chicago Freestyle, and Maxwell, Whenever, Wherever, Whatever. And the album that I'm listening to today and yesterday is Pretty Girls Like Trap Music by 2 Chainz.
Whoop, whoop. So I broke the protocol, y'all. Dr. Small is actually our principal. I was his AP, so I had to interrupt him. Okay, Dr. Small, you can call somebody.
Big mouth. But I love it though. No?
Are you sure you want me to speak now?
Come on, you go out there.
You don't need my permission.
Sir, thank you. All right, so it's not that's not hard for me. I don't remember in what order we asked the questions, but as far as my theme is always I'm Every Woman. Come on now. Whether you want to sing the Whitney version or all the other versions, it would be that. And I would say those songs that define me are my 2 top favorite songs are Grateful and anything by, why am I forgetting her name? Tremaine Hawkins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so anything to do with that, as far as just Grateful and Changed, those 2 particular songs just speak to my spirit,
Keep that
speak
one
to my
there,
life.
the off school round. Keep that
And
there.
I listen to everything from trap to gospel, honey, but I'm always listening to some kind of house music. I'm always in my kids' faces. But house music is absolutely my favorite genre, and it could be hot music, it could be Grateful Love, it could be anything. So I have all of those types of songs on my YouTube playlist, but most recently I was listening to Thaylor. But my girl Jill Scott, because I know ladies,
I'll put
we
it
will
in the
talk
star,
later about that Jill
the
Scott and
OG in the
Erica
star,
Badu
they put the
love fest
circle
that we
around
had this Saturday.
Okay, good. Someone calling somebody else.
I like that one. I don't know that one.
Okay, so this is no secret. Where's my big brother Oz? Where you at?
But I would have
If you ain't ready, I gotta go to my protector Moody.
I'm ready.
All right, let's be clear.
So I was saying have this like that, and
Like
then
me,
the
my
circle
movie probably be Road to Perdition.
for that clean.
My soundtrack would be Deep Cover. What's Love Got to Do with It? Probably Move by Ludacris.
And we design the logo.
That's what I'm listening to now. Like,
So we're doing logos while we're doing this class, but I wanted to design this logo real quick.
Young Thugger. And
You know, we like to design the logos, and we do everything. So we don't go get somebody to do it, we do it. So we sit here, me and Nicolette, and just design.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Yep, I'm the newcomer to the group, so good to see everybody. Akbar will put me on the spot. I don't know. I think I was just kind of contemplating. I'm kind of on the spot too. I'll answer as best as possible. The theme to my life would be evolution, make your next move your best move. Always just trying to be better and better day by day, evolving. I always think about the caterpillar to the butterfly. And album, I'm feeling Keep That Same Energy by Tiana Taylor. Another artist who I think is just evolving, having watched her from her to now, and Spike's Key joint and all of the things that she's involved in, Miss Education of Lauryn Hill, definitely just one in the chamber, as far as albums. And me, who just spoke? Simone? Hey, Simone. I listen to all genres as well, so I could be listening to any feel-good music. And that's anything from NBA YoungBoy to Fetty Wap trap to old school rock Rocksteady, you know, Tevin Campbell, whatever. So my playlist definitely spans across genres, from the new current mumble rap, love it all, to the old school. Back when I was in science high, listening to intro, we gotta love things. So any feel good music.
Okay, thank you, Principal Pitts. I can't believe you said NBA Youngboy though, but okay.
I have an 18-year-old son, so some of it is by default, and I'm a K-8 principal, so my middle school really keeps me like, I know Migos, NBA Youngboy, Baby Shark.
Like the one
all of the new news.
Okay.
Shout out to the K-8 principals.
the badge.
I hear you. Well, thank you everyone for participating. I know it was a little tough, but I thought it was fun, so I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to turn it back over to our host, that is
And the badge put
Listen, you always tell me, don't make this feel like work. Then that felt like work. All right, so but thank you for that, for real. Thank you. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about.
I can see how there's no words on there at all.
As it relates to being school leaders,
There's nothing.
but also to being community leaders. So one of the things that's powerful about this exercise that Principal Hines just shared with us was, I think what we have to do is spend some time asking ourselves the question, what kind of emotion, what kind of feelings are we going through right now that's impacting community? Sometimes we like to believe that, as school leaders, our job is to do what we got to do in these schools, and that's it. But many of you that are in the room that I know personally are also out in the community doing a lot of things to make changes for the community at large. So one of the things that's very important for us to understand, whether we're talking about educational policy or reform, it's impossible. It's impossible to talk of those things without fully elaborating and understanding the neighborhoods and the communities in which you work.
Maybe put a book
Day
in the middle.
that we get up and we go through this remote learning. There is something community related that's preventing our kids from being successful. There's something within the community
I just need to
that's
play with it.
preventing us from getting kids engaged. There is something in our community that is hurting not only our children, but
something about this I like.
every single day. And so,
I think we finished.
whether it's racism, whether it's oppression, whether it's fear, whatever it has to be, those things were rampant in our type of community. But the one thing I want to make very clear is that as a principal, if you took on the role as a community leader, you can change that. And I know we don't like to believe that because, we don't walk around with a cape on. We don't feel like we're the superheroes. We don't feel like we are the ones who can change an entire community. But in all actuality, really and truly can. Throughout, every time we talk about school reform and stuff like that, we always talk about what's happening in the classroom. We talk about, instruction. We talk about the things that are happening in the school. But what we never really talk about when we're trying to make any kind of reform or policy changes is we don't really talk about the neighborhood and how the neighborhood in itself impacts our students' ability to learn at the highest level. I'm not saying, I want to make this perfectly clear.
Something about the, this,
hard.
and then you putting that can make it clean, but give it the wings that we
I
want.
didn't have the option
So it's
of
like
believing
this
that
becomes
my
the
kids
wings, and
would
then
learn
by the time to see what that circle
I
is.
didn't have the option of believing that my kids and my families couldn't get all the services that they needed. Those of you who are aware or are familiar with the work of Jeffrey Canada, who was my boss, but also too the founder and CEO of
Position
Harlem
those
Children's
like
Home.
wings,
And one of the things that was so incredible about that experience with Harlem Children's Home is because of whether it was financial literacy, whether it was the asthma initiative, the Family Start Initiative, who had asthma, we made sure that in our schools that we focused a great deal of attention on changing the community. Because most of the schools that we work in, our students actually manifest the behaviors that they see within their community, they bring it into the school. And once again, this is not about whether it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you it is what it is. And we can change that if we change our attitude about our role as a school leader. that we can't just continue to get up in the morning and assume that we're just a principal and we're over these 300 kids. No, we're over those kids, their families, and everybody else. So we have to do a more effective job of looking at that stuff holistically. I know that there definitely are a few people in the room who practice this on an ongoing basis, but when Rochelle was talking about the music, the music is very emotional. And, a lot of what you all talked about and who you named as your artists, I see a lot of it reflected in your personality, And what's weird is, when you use Deep Cover as one of yours, my question to you is, what exactly was the reason why you chose Deep Cover?
Because I move with the kids. Like I could be at the local block party, so I'm moving in and out of the board of ad meetings, but I'm also on the block with the kids. So I'm deep covered. I'm in there with the suits, but I ain't like them. I'm moving with my community.
So one of the things that I want us to think about when we're trying to change things, the way school policy and reforms are done right now is usually done from a top-down approach. But in the schools, we actually have to look at it a little different. We can't run the schools exclusively the way they tell us to do it from the top down. We literally got to know what's going on in our schools and actually build the community from the bottom all the way to the top. So when I'm thinking about the school and the school leaders that are in this room, my question of whether or not you truly embrace the role of community leader is something that I really wanted us to discuss today. Not only because it's a flashy conversation to have, but the reality of it is that if you're not a community leader, if it is not something that you are doing on a regular basis, even remotely right now, it is something that we have to address because it can be changed. The communities can change. I worked in Harlem, and many people in here, from Ryan Swarzak to Eddie to Naya to other people who work with me in Harlem, they understand how one man's vision, changed the whole complexion of what Central Park looked like. Now, yes, he had a crew of us that helped him, but the reality is it started with that one man and that one vision. So I want to, turn the conversation over to you all just a little bit and talk to me a little bit about your role as not only as a school leader, but what are you doing in your schools and what are you doing in your community to make a difference?
Dennis,
yes,
I think it's an interesting point. So I was a principal in Harlem first. I founded a school in Harlem. And one thing I learned about Harlem, I led an art school. And Harlem had an infrastructure for mental health. If kids knew that they were questioning were they pregnant, they could go to Mount Sinai Adolescent and get support without people calling mommy, daddy, grandma. And so there was this community structure that held up the school. Fast forward to leading a 6 to 12 school in Southeast Queens, where it is barren. Students can go to church. If you question your sexuality, you're going to talk to your pastor, your mama, your grandmama, and so there were no resources. And so this question of, as school leaders, are we community leaders? The answer is yes, whether you choose it or not. For my school, the first thing I had to establish was mental health support. Our kids are suffering. They're trying to figure out adolescent, poverty, the identity. There are all kinds of, and their parents are also suffering, right? Because for Black people, we don't go to counseling, we go to church, right? Or we go to the bottle, or we go to something worse. So what we had to do for Pathways is we have a 12-month family mental health practice in our building, partnered through the New York Health Office in our school, where she can go do family visits and go to homes. Parents can provide their insurance if they have it, and she can have a caseload. And this is a licensed clinical social worker. There's also restorative practices. We took on all of the restorative practices, grades 6 to 12, and teachers. And so really thinking about, as a community leader in Southeast Queens, I had to figure out, how do I educate the whole child? And how do I support them academically, but also the social and emotional learning? And so I think you have a valid point, and I learned that from Harlem because there was a community-based infrastructure for us to be able to reach out to organizations and easily bring them to school. Southeast Queens did not have that.
Anybody else?
Hey guys, how's everyone? Hey, so I have kind of a wraparound. We have a health clinic. We're a partnership with a health agency locally. So similar to what Faya was talking about. Is it Faya or Via?
Girl, it is Via.
Via, all right.
I will burn you up.
So a lot similar to what Via was describing. But one of the things that I realized that I needed to do was get people in my building. I kept hearing too much how, oh, your school is so awesome. Nobody really knows about it. My school is sort of a destination. Beaufort is a town. It's not a city. So it's more rural. It's not like cornfields everywhere, rural. But still it's, you know, kind of like a church, like you said, lots of churches and that type of atmosphere. And so the people who make decisions, the people that people listen to in the greater Beaufort community, I had to get them in my building to see my babies, my boys and girls, and what we're doing and what they can do so that they could believe in my students the way that I do. And so that's been one of the things that I've worked on the most lately.
Let's see the OCG in the lens.
So what to think about is, you know, as Peter said, whether or not we want to be community leaders or not, that's really what we are. And I think one of the first things we do as community leaders, we identify concerns, we identify the problems within our communities and do something about it. And those of us that are in the room right now realize that, like, let's just use the current situation with remote learning. We know that technology is an issue in our community. We know the internet is a problem in our community. But many of us didn't do anything about it in enough time to catch this before it became a pandemic and children went home without these resources. I'm not blaming anybody in the room for it. What I'm pointing out is part of the role of a community leader is to identify the problems and do something about it. If we knew back then, because most of us as principals, let's be honest, teachers don't let kids take computers home. They ain't been letting them take it home. They ain't been letting them take it home or nothing. And now, if they do, they might mute your mic. Mute your mic, whoever. Juanita, mute your mic. So, what I want you all to understand is that we go through most inner city schools throughout this country, and what we're going to recognize is that our children don't have many resources. Inequity isn't a new thing. Lack of resources is not a new thing. Poverty is not a new thing. But I think we're a lot of time talking about it. So when I talk about some of the responsibilities...
Can I just see it alone in the blue with the OSG in it? This, but without this, it's like just that simple.
If you identify these problems, now you do something about it. And so I've been in many of your schools, and I can tell you with all certainty that it wasn't a common practice that children take laptops and iPads home on a day-to-day basis. And the reason why I feel we have to talk about that is because if we did those things, then we might have been able to identify the problem with internet, or that they had a problem with using technology with their families at home. Once again, I'm not saying that people haven't done something, but if we're going to make change, we got to identify the problem and do something about it. That's one of the biggest things that we did in Harlem, is that we realized that kids weren't coming to school because some of them had to go to the dentist. So what did Jeff decide? All right, let's put a dentist office in the school. We realized that many of our families had issues with health care. So what did Jeff do? He added a health facility in the school. These things are happening every day, and I know that again. I'm referring back to people like Akbar for a reason, because there's things that he's doing in his school that I think does align with that, and I think in so many of your schools, because as I follow you on social media and things like that, I most certainly see the impact that you all as leaders are having. But one thing I'm asking you all to do now is to, once we identify the problem in the community, let's put a plan of action in place to resolve it. Because what I'm going to tell you is poverty looks different in South Jamaica, Queens, than it does in Jamaica. I'm telling you that poverty looks different in the South Bronx than it does in Harlem right now. So when we talk about poverty and we talk about those lack of resources, that is still too ambiguous. We got to talk about specifically what's going on in our immediate community and fix those problems versus let's just talk about, oh, our kids are underserved and impoverished. That has a wide range. What does that mean in your city? So I'm going to turn it back over to you guys. Talk to me a little bit about what's going on in your community and how do we plan to fix those issues.
This around it, and do one with this with the wings around it.
Hi, this is Mr. Alabi from PS224, under the direction of Ms. Rochelle Hines. One of the issues we had is attendance, right? We had issues with attendance and kids showing up to school. So one of the things we found out trying to raise attendance is trying to actually get in contact with parents, right? If you can't contact parents, you can't get their children to school, and we have elementary school kids. So we found out through our blue cards, we know we have blue cards, that a lot of numbers didn't work, right? A lot of numbers don't work, emails don't work, and things are very, you can't really read how people write. A lot of our parents change their numbers. A lot of kids go through.
I like that one the best so far. The star, the badge.
What we did is we're developing an app.
You like that one?
Where our parents can stay in contact with us no matter what.
Can I say without those two dots though?
They're on. So right now it's called My Locker, right? And it's there so our parents can now, if they change numbers, they can download the app and stay in contact with us. So it just got approved in the App Store on Google. Apple's a whole nother story, but it's going to be approved there. But our thing is, we can't speak to the parents. We can't speak to the parents. So we need to keep them in constant contact. So that was one of the issues. Another issue was we saw with Principal Akbar, he installed a washer and dryer to make it more of a community school for us, right? We were doing the same thing, and we installed the hookups for the washer and dryer. But now, because we stopped with school, we can't install the washer and dryer. And now we can't spend the money to get the washer and dryer because they froze the budget. So what Ms. Hines is now trying to find donations to washer and dryer.
Can I see that? No, can I see that white and blue? Reverse the star?
Washed, and they don't have them ready to go to school. So we wanted them to bring it in so we can take care of that need for us. So that's one of the issues we're dealing with at PS224 in East New York in the Pink House.
So Alabi, one thing that I want to point out is that, the blue card issue, and most of you, if you've been in the DOE longer than 5 minutes, you know about the blue cards, right? And that isn't a new problem, right? I was a principal almost 10 years ago, and we have problems with blue cards. And so I think one of the things we realize, again, we know that's a problem because families change numbers and they move around and things like that. What's imperative, though, is that we put together a task force of attendance workers that every week we might need to go and check those numbers, or every month we might need to go check to see if those numbers are accurate, because this is not a new problem. And what I'm saying is that we consistently go through the same problem over and over and over again because we keep saying there's an issue with the blue card. The issue of the blue card is not a new problem, and I just think we got to now, as a school leader, think about the community. They don't necessarily have working numbers. It's not always because they want to remain anonymous. Some of that stuff is they're in a witness protection situation. They're on a run from.
How do you like those two knobs right there? Why do you put those two dots?
Or they can't afford the bill. Whatever the reason is. But what we can't do is keep saying that it's a blue card issue. And those
just gives it balance. I'm asking.
I mean, it's just.
If you've been in here, like, I think it's Riley, if you're in the building, like, you've been in principal for almost 11 years now. Has this blue card issue been an issue since you started?
No, the blue card issue has been the same way since I've been in the Department of Education, way back to when I was a teacher, going over 25, 26 years ago. So it hasn't changed.
And which one?
Yes. Can I take a side note? I just want to introduce a new person in the room. I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I have running late.
So which one you like?
Because you know I called you out, Luke, right?
I know.
I was looking for you.
I'm here. Can I just introduce? My girlfriend, Sammy. Sammy, you here, right?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Sammy is an AP up in Brooklyn, New York.
on the
Beacon, sorry, Beacon.
these two things on
Yes, she's the 8 p.m.
shorts
Beacon.
and
That's my girl,
hat.
Sandy. Say hi, Sandy.
Hello, former
It says sweatshirt, a hat. You know,
Yes,
okay.
assistant principal of PS 42. Whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop, hey,
Yeah, so the one thing that
Thank you.
So what's important to understand in this conversation is that we consistently talk about the same problem, and I think in our communities we talk about it from that same lens. And I think Lester King is in the building as well, a principal that is doing some great
Can I do it
work
for my
in
templates?
Coney Island, and he and I talked about some
Yeah,
stuff
I can.
because
Yeah,
he's
from
now in a
stuff from
community
scratch.
school. I mean, he's taking over a community school, and one of
Do
the
it from
things
the way
he's
we do it.
noticing is that there's resources in the building, but nobody's really utilizing it to the point where people are ready to come and take the resources out of the building. So, King, you're in the building, right? Mr. King? Principal King?
Yes. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone.
What's going on, King? So, King, is it true that you are a community school and you have these resources in your building right now as well, right?
Correct. They weren't being utilized, or the person that was, they weren't being utilized. So what I had to do is to pull the resources together and align them to the school's vision. And we were able to provide tutoring to our students during remote learning, and we were able to give technology to all of our students. All these resources were already there in the building, but no one was utilizing.
This one doesn't bother me.
Yeah, and I think that's the point that I think in everybody's building they have a plethora of resources available for students.
Let's see if they
The
look like
problem
them close.
is I don't know if we're utilizing them effectively because once again, every school that I go into, technology has really never been an issue all year. Now for remote learning, it's an issue. So the question of it was, is what did we do with the resources when we had it? Were we really allowing children to go home with the material? Was we allowing parents to troubleshoot at home with the student and actually do some kind of survey then to find out what was going on? So I definitely feel like it's a conversation to be had about us no longer talking about what the problems are in our inner city schools in our community, but us recognizing that we're not doing anything to resolve those problems that have been going on for decades on end. So please, again, don't take this as me telling you you're not doing anything. What I'm telling you, we're not doing enough. And until we understand that we run a school within the community and that we are community leaders, I think we're going to continue to bypass some of the ills that are going on in the hoodwinks. You got what I'm saying? So I think it's important for us to have these discussions on an ongoing basis because
how I have to,
I got a good friend of mine in the room as well, Xavier, who's also Xavier Donaldson, who's also he's a big time attorney here in New York. But I think what he's seeing in this pipeline is a lot of the same things. You're not seeing anything different. You're not seeing much difference in way of how we're being treated as people. We're not seeing any difference on how police treat us. We're not seeing anything different on how resources don't get to us. But what we're not doing, I think, a good enough job about as the people is empowering ourselves and our people around us to make those type of changes. X, are you in the room? Xavier, you in the room?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for coming through, X.
Man, it's glad to be here, and I'm loving what I'm hearing.
No doubt. So, X, so just give us a quick background of who you are, what you do, and whether or not you see a lot of the same things that you've seen over your entire career as an attorney here in New York.
So I am a criminal defense attorney primarily. I was born in Queens. A lot of people don't know that. So I was born in Queens. I then moved to inner city Miami, Liberty City, to public schools down there. And then after that, I actually went to 6th grade, was in South Bronx. A lot of people don't know that either. 5th and 6th grade was in South Bronx. And went back to Miami, public schools down there, Howard for law school. And I've been primarily
working in New York City for the last 26 years. Started out as a Bronx prosecutor, and then after that, after 5 or 6 years of that, I was doing criminal defense practice. So I have seen just about every side of this coin that you all are mentioning. And I mean, I think you hit it around the nail. I always say this, and I want to keep saying this. You know, we've been seeing the same thing in both industries for the last 45, 50 years. The issue is creative solutions to these same problems, in my opinion. You know, my biggest thing is I tell people that I represent, if that means I can stop my clients from committing crimes before they see me. As they start with the schools and the neighborhoods and things like that, different kind of programs, a whole changing of mentality. It's a lot to it, but a lot of people ask me, well, what happens if they stop committing crime? That's the problem with me. I'd rather teach, do that rather than do what I'm doing, because it's a lot going on out there. We really need to figure out a way to get to these kids before they hire me. That's my goal. How can we get to these kids before they hire me, before the families hire me, before I can go and counsel them, be fathers, unfortunately, fathers sometimes to my clients. So, you know, if there's a way to do that, a way to help do that, then I'm all in. Side note, my father-in-law has a 40,000 square foot building in Harlem that we use as a school as well, as an after-school program. He's had it now for 40 years. It actually has more instruments in it than any public school in the city. And we are developing programs in the school, in the building now, for after-school programs and things like that to try to help kids out, but that's a side note.
Good looking, X. I appreciate you for that. And like,
you doing?
Very small.
Right. Yes. I wanted to also, you know, just go back to your question in terms of what are we doing, what can we do, as school leaders and as community leaders. But I also want to make the important nuance between what a community is and what a neighborhood is. A lot of us work in neighborhoods. But they're not necessarily communities in the sense that communities mean not only people that live there, but just people that are also in control of businesses and services there. And then that's what makes a community versus you being a resident of a neighborhood, right? And so to that avail, as a principal, particularly in New York, we control a multi-million-dollar budgets, right? And how you think and what's important to you is going to determine how you contribute to the community. And so for me, I make sure that of the millions of dollars that flow through my hands on an annual basis, that I support local business, number one. I support businesses that look like the children that go to my school, right? Whether it's the uniform makers, who's a black couple, whether it's the social emotional support by way of Epiphany Blue, which is a black business, whether it's the arts program, that's $100,000 plus a year program that goes to a business that's black owned, so forth and so on. So we have an enormous amount of power that we can leverage by way of spending money to support businesses that look like our children. And so that's always very important.
I want to add like something.
In addition to that, partnering with the local politicians, right? Whether it's Assembly of Darren, Councilman of Darren, and so forth and so on. So I have strong partnerships with the local politicians, and I also have strong partnerships with the local community organizations, whether it be Man Out or so forth and so on. So again, how you leverage your position and really understand the amount of power that you do have by way of partnership and by way of dollars, and you determine whether you're effective as and whether you're not just a school leader, but someone who's effective as a community leader. And so to have
small by saying this though. Like the ideal scenario here is I'm still asking people to identify those things, right? Whatever the issues are in your school. And like I said, poverty may look a little different in your school than it looks in Otto school, and you guys are just a block or two away from each other. It may look different in your school and Heinz school, and you know it's a 5-minute drive away. So what I'm asking us to do is this is all 1 to 3 things that are concerns in our community, in our direct community. And as the school leaders, we should know what the problems are because they manifest themselves when they come into the schools, what I'm saying. And so we got the money, and one thing that's definitely not something that we struggle with, especially in New York City, is you're talking about $1 million in budget. I'm not saying that that it's enough, but what I'm saying is that we may not be able to tackle all problems every year, but we can decide what needs to be worked on. And like I said, let's think about this remote learning situation. Is that very few of you ever had an issue with
Which one do you like? Like any of them?
technology in the school. Majority of us didn't have that problem.
Maybe
Because
this,
if we
but
had that problem, we would
I still
resolve.
think I need to add
But what we got to
Definitely.
remember is that a computer without
Can I
internet
just-
is just a word process. So we got to begin that process, start to write down exactly what it is, whatever it is.
Hey, Dennis. I want to say this right, because I'm kind of confused a little bit though. If the budget is there, then how would it be a problem with the internet? You know what I mean? I kind of like lost.
What about making it like
So thanks,
Oh,
guys.
internet at home. Okay, I got you.
So right now, the kids are taking these laptops home, right? And some families don't have internet. So and so that you have to access the internet to do the work. So some kids are going home without having access to it. And it might seem like, how could that happen in 2020? But one of the first times I saw that was maybe about last year or so when I was down in South Carolina. And I realized that especially in rural areas like that or areas where people just don't have the money, internet is considered a luxury. So if I have a decision to make, I'm probably not going to get internet if I can use the money for something else. So what I'm saying, Calvin, is looking at it from the fact that every kid now has if every kid even has a Chromebook or every kid has a laptop, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can access the work which is done via internet.
Yeah, can I say something about that? I think that the school should be focused a little bit more as being a business because that's exactly the thing. It's like just as well as prisons focus as businesses, I think that the school should be focusing just as much as the prisons focus as businesses. You know what I mean? They spend millions and millions and millions of dollars in prisons. And if you're talking about y'all have budgets, if you have 30 schools and each school have $1 million, that's a lot of money to work with each other. You know what I'm saying? To be able to move forward and to be able to accomplish all the things that you're talking about doing. Now, if it's an internet issue, most of the kids live in that area. So if I go somewhere, I might go down a block. Like right now, I'm using internet on the road. Like, you know what I'm saying? Finding internet is not as hard as what we try to make it out to be. You know what I mean? So if they don't have internet at home, if what I'm just saying is try to make the effort for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And but Calvin, but it starts this way, and then Anisha, I'm gonna get to you. But Calvin, what it is we have to we know that that's been a problem, right? So if we know it's been a problem, then we can give those as solutions to families who don't have internet. But I don't think that we have been as active as we needed to have been to make sure to address these issues. Again, whatever resources our Black and brown children lack, that now they lack it a month ago, 2 months ago, a year ago. And so we have to figure, if nothing else, okay, how do we Verizon and get hotspots for all of our kids? How do we get T-Mobile so every one of our kids can get hotspots? Whatever it has to be, these are things that we could have done a year ago. So that in the event that something like this that is so unpredictable that took place, we have a way to resolve it. Does it cost money? Yes. I'm not talking about the fact that it doesn't cost money. But I see $1 million budgets every day. I see it. So we just got to be more cautious about how we're using it.
I appreciate the conversation, folks, and how we're thinking, and I think the direction you're going in is having us think more forward thinking, and we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Firstly, again, I did join forces with this grant, some of you may have heard of it, it's called Sprint Million $1 million Sprint grant, and we provided a phone with internet access to every single student in the school. This was 2 years ago. Not anticipating this, but we had a problem with the students who are failing, and then at the end of 4 years, we're trying to make this cohort trying to get kids to graduate. So we invested in a credit recovery program to have students be able to work from home, but then we found out that they didn't have internet. So we did this with the phone. Currently now with the Chromebook, we're having the same problem with the fact that kids don't have internet at home. But like Brother Calvin is saying, that is no excuse when you have a budget. Our town, smaller than most of the New York City schools, $600 million budget, there's no excuse why you can't get internet in everybody's home. So if we have a device, we made a partnership with the phone company and actually Optimum, and they sign in internet into the device. As long as they're using the school device, they have internet anywhere.
Exactly.
So it is possible, but I think the issue that we have is
Can you let me fuck with it?
yes, we have places that have the resources, but honestly, we're not connected to our students and our families. They don't feel connected to school, and I know that there's elementary school, high school, what have you. We're all from the community. There's some folks and some parents that don't feel connected. So yes, they have issues with changing their numbers, they move, they can't pay their phone bill, all of that. But how about if they're getting assistance every month and they have to have an active phone on file? Those places have an active phone number for those parents. The parents don't really feel connected to us because when we talk to them, we
Just for my others, and my principal is in the middle of full rant. I don't know, because I don't know what they've been talking about. All right, let me engage with this one now.
Mr. Monty, your mic is open. Turn your mic off, please. So the reality is, if they feel connected to us after school, if they came, like you said, what you did in Harlem, they came for their basic needs, going to the doctor, going to the dentist, they feel a need for the school, so they're going to have the information online. And if they don't follow through with what you're telling them to do, they can possibly be sent back to their public school or perhaps a situation in New York. But the reality is that if schools have something that they need to live, they're going to come and they're going to abide by some of your expectations. One of our issues is we got to learn that our students in our community don't value education like they should. They're not mindful. They're not coming for the right reason. We have to get them in school and almost trick them into performing, because understanding that our kids and our families, they live in 6 and 7 different worlds. The world of education and that teacher in front of them talking to them with respect is not the world they come from. They live in one world at home, they live in another world in the street, they live in a different world when they come to court, in another world when they come to school. We have to have them understand the way of the world. Not that we agree with it, but the society has certain rules and expectations. They don't have to abide by all of them, because there's some folks who didn't listen to those rules and created their own, like brothers we have with us here, James Dash and the brother Calvin Klein. So yes, they created their own way, but then when they faltered, they created a new way. But our kids are more in that mode. So we're trying to train them in a world where we're pushing everybody through the same educational system, and it's not working.
Can I jump in real quick?
Hold on one second, Kyle. And then I'm gonna ask Nisha and then Kyle, because Nisha and Kyle have their hands up. Listen, so I think you hit it on the head earlier, Moody, is that I'm asking people to be forward thinkers now, right? I'm saying let's not continue to go back and talk about poverty or lack of resources and inequities 10 years from now. Let's say to ourselves, what exactly are those inequities in our current community, and figure out a way to utilize our budget to make it work. You got what I'm saying? Make it work. Because it happens to empower the people. That's why it's about the resources. But if you just give it to kids and get them hooked and addicted, then they become a criminal who used to be, we eat for free, we talk for free. You need to create the business. And no question. So again, I just wanted people to understand that I'm asking you guys, you all, ladies and gentlemen in this room, to become forward thinkers. All I'm saying is when I worked with Jeff, and the one thing that I truly understood, is when he realized that attendance would be an issue because parents would feel like their children are not going to go to school because they got to go to the dentist. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a dentist in the school so we don't have that problem when that problem tries to rear it up again. Or when attendance becomes an issue because the kid is sick, but the mom can't or the dad can't take them to the clinic because they don't have health care. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put one of those things in the school. I'm talking about becoming forward thinking. That's ultimately what I'm saying. And again, just this is not a conversation that I think we can ever really finish in one setting, but I do feel that it's a conversation that we need to have because it's something that needs to happen immediately. I'm sorry.
Dennis, I'm sorry for cutting the line, right? I'm sorry for cutting the line. I'm not any of the principals, right? But I want to just say this, right? When you're talking about dentists, doctors in the schools and things like that, I don't want to knock nobody, you know what I'm saying? But a child goes to see the doctor once every month, or once every 2 months, or once every 3 months, though, but they play basketball every day. You know what I'm saying? They on the computers every day. You know, they play with some musicians, something musical. They in the gym, they trying to be the next rapper. They trying to be the next movie star, you know what I'm saying? So why not have a film department? Why not have a music department? Why not have, you know what I'm saying, all these things? You go down the list and go to the schools and ask a survey to all the kids and ask the kids, what do all y'all like? They all like the same thing.
No doubt.
They all like the same thing. So why not provide the same things to them and that'll occupy their time?
Yeah, I like that.
You're talking about let them go on the streets. No, don't let them go on the streets. Let the school be the hip thing to be, the place to be.
So Calvin, I think once again that what I'm saying and you saying are something very similar, which is this: the school needs to be the hub. It needs to be the hub of the community. Bottom line, that's what I'm saying. And then, like I said, I want that to be very, very clear that that's my message.
Exactly. And then you can get sponsors to come in. Like, you know what I mean? You're not on your own. You're talking about you have a budget. If you got an 800 score with $50,000, you damn near a millionaire. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's how you got to have a PR person. Somebody people in the department that knows how to do all this stuff and know how to take your money and not put it in their pocket, but utilize it to the best benefit of the kids.
No question. So
can I say something when you get a chance?
Come on. So I'm going to turn it over. Hey, listen, Asia, then Anisha, then Kyle. Anisha had texted me to ask me because she has something to say. So, Asia, you can go ahead, and then Anisha, and then Kyle.
I think Anisha was first, though.
I like that.
Okay, well, you can go ahead, and then Anisha can go right after you.
Okay.
Got your face on it already.
Okay. So I just wanted to be clear about, like, for us working in the DOE specifically, there are a lot of limitations to the people that we can work with and the things that we can do. And I know in my school, I have the same thing that Moody has in his school. I have the Sprint 1 Million project. We have those hot spots or whatever. Problem is with those hot spots, by the time a kid gets done with one Google Classroom assignment, the hot spot is done. And so I had to pause my video, turn off my video because I had a call with someone from the senator's office because what people that work in the DOE right now, what no one is probably thinking about right now, but it just dawned on me the other day, and I'm trying to raise this issue to as many people as possibly can. Spectrum, Altice, all these companies that are all internet companies in New York City, they only gave our kids free internet for 60 days. We've been in remote learning for 60 days come May 23rd. I called Optimum myself, and they told me personally that there will not be any internet for kids come the end of this month. So we're making all these virtual graduation plans. We're doing all these things for kids, but no one is really thinking about it. At least at the DOE, as many webinars we've had with our executive suits, with our with the chancellor every other week, none of them had came out and said like, hey, kids are going to have internet until the end of the summer, even at this point, because we know at this point we'll most likely be in summer school and it's going to be remote too, but nobody is thinking about that. So I've been trying to raise the issue with the senator who's been coming to our school. We've been reaching out to, filling out grants and stuff. But I'm also serve as a member of the DOE's Diversity Advisory Group. The same thing that has always been in the DOE. It is an opportunity gap. My son goes to a school on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and they have a person that works specifically for that their job, their primary job is to find, because everything that y'all mentioned on this call so far,
what Jeffrey Kennedy came up with. My school has a health-based clinic. My basketball players don't have to worry about making appointments. They can get their physical on site. The dentist comes. They have a mental health provider. I got a recording studio. I got kids that come in there just to record albums and put it on SoundCloud. All of those things exist in my school, but I still can't get parents to come to my school because I call them and I always say to them every time they walk into my building in 9th grade, don't be a registration and graduation parent. And they think I'm playing. And I'm saying that you're the parent that I see right now because you're registering your kid, but then I won't see you again until graduation. And so we need to really talk about our black and brown families that are only want to be, regardless of what you give them. And I'm a community school too, just like the school in Coney Island, Brooklyn. We give people free stuff all the time. Matter of fact, we sent out 200 food vouchers to families. We had a nerve to have families turn down a $200 food voucher. Send me a damn $200 food voucher. I'll take it. But you know, like, it's something about our people that we really need to come to. And I'm new. I've only been a principal in the DOE for like 5 years now. So if y'all have some other advice on what to do, I am in the South Bronx, so I'm very much different from Brooklyn. It is the poorest congressional district in the nation. When you talk about poor, when you talk about they come in after Christmas and Easter with sneakers and gifts. They come in the same thing that the way they look right now with no haircuts is the same way they look before first day in school. So I'm definitely interested in hearing anything, but it's an opportunity yet.
Put a barbershop in there. Yeah, and Asia, you know
there is one in there. I'm dead ass serious. There is a carpentry and electrical program in my school. I'm dead ass.
Let's look at it this way, right? So I think rather than look at being able to swallow the entire elephant, right? What you've been able to do by adding these programs being in your school is that you're decreasing the number of families who are no longer engaged. And you got to start to look at things from less of what we don't have, what's not happening, to more of what is happening as a result of what you put in your school. So I don't think that we're ever going to totally get 100% participation in anything. However, what I want to be able to do is to say, first and foremost, Asia, I got to give you props to have those things in your school.
Like, I like this in there, like the way you have it, and have it in the bird.
You can only imagine what the community would be like
Make it in the
if it wasn't for you. So I definitely applaud you. And just again, I'm asking Asia, and just be patient with it, and understand that it does get better because of these things you're adding into
what you're doing.
Hold on, small. Anisha, we get Anisha and then Kyle.
You know,
put that on the bird, in the middle of the bird.
I'm learning. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. What you just said made me think about going to Mark Twain Junior High School in Coney Island, and so many of my friends who were in either dance or basketball, like right now I can go to see a playbill or go to Alvinelli, and my friends from Mark Twain are dancing still. And like my friend Norman Richardson was like coaching a team in some place. He's still in it. And so I think it makes me think about exposure. And I think just having like a three keys is like assess, listen, and having intention. And so I think back to like right now I'm trying to put together a transformer for my son. And I don't know how to do it. But I used to run home back in the day and I couldn't wait to see Video Music Box. And I'm thinking like what the young lady from Brooklyn, she said she has an app. I think it's time for us to be unconventional. Like my son, he's 9, he's playing Fortnite. Have you watched this game? It's the corniest thing. And I'm just like, why can't we just have our own network? Grade 3 is this time, grade 4 is this time. Have a video game, we could put some hot SAT words in the video game and put it in a being a real person and someone that people want to connect to. Because if you're whack, nobody's gonna want to talk to you, whether you know your stuff or not, right? And so if you're corny, no one's gonna rock with you, right? But if we're grabbing the attention of our students, which it sounds like most of us have, then let's go and let's put a soundtrack to this. And I just watched Fortnite. I'm just like, we could put this together. I think Travis Scott just had an event, and I'm just like, wow, that was his album release party. Yeah. That's dope. And now, just like in church, you know, when you get the minds of the youth, you're gonna have the straight fan base for the next 30 years.
Can I just say real quick?
Go ahead, Dan.
You know, every single thing she's saying is exactly what I'm saying I want to do. I want to take y'all, I want to turn school into a network, I want to make it into programming, the books, the soundtracks. That's exactly what school needs to be. But also, one other thing is, you have to show kids how to make money. They respect whoever's getting money. So if you could just do a business as a curriculum, and they could actually reap a financial benefit from it, that'll keep them coming. So if you could get a kid to make $200 a week from selling whatever, buying something, selling it, marketing it, and it's all legal, that's going to keep them going. And if you can make sure they're getting some fly clothes and whoever's, if it's like, it's almost like the teachers got to look like the new drug dealers. Y'all got to be cool as the drug dealers. Y'all got to be as fly as the drug dealers. You got to hit them with packs, but they got to come back with some bread. And they have to be legal packs. You just have to find out how to do that. You know, but that's how I looked at it. Like, as a child, I didn't respect my principal because he didn't make more money than me, because I had a better car than him. He couldn't tell me what to do. I had a better car. I had a Max, the Box Max. He had the Honda, and I didn't want to hear it. You know, in high school, I had the 300Z. My girl had a 300Z Boogie Mother, and, you know, the principal had I didn't want to hear it. So you got to be the fly guy, and y'all fly. So I just think y'all got to make the programming and show these kids how to make some business, and y'all got to be the cool as the drug dealers, but you got to present opportunity.
We got to be the new lit.
You got to be the plug. You got to be the plug.
Gotta be the plug. Mackenzie, just to piggyback what Anissa said was what we took these Raspberry Pis, these are $25 program machines, and we let the kids create their own Fortnite and Minesweeper and everything. It is $25. Look at that Raspberry Pi. They were able to start their own programs, and be able to sell those, like Dane said, on the internet and make their own video games. So that right there, I'm telling you, it's the dopest thing. Just $25 Raspberry Pi, and they're able to program and do whatever they want and sell those games on the internet and using Twitch and everything, and being able to sell their own things and put it out there. This is stupid.
Hey, Kyle, jump in there, Kyle.
Okay.
Okay, I want to go back to a couple of different things that that people spoke about, and as well as shout out my blood sister Kaylee Brown. She's a supervisor in Newark. She's on here, and Mrs. Ware, who works at my school. I call her my body. She looks out for me and makes sure that school's well without me dropping the ball too much. But as far as the community, I think the key is that we have to have a pulse on what's going on in the community. And you have to, sometimes you can be forward thinking if you don't have that pulse, because you have to know what's actually wrong in the community and understand. So you have to have a good team around you who kids are so comfortable talking to. Because if the kids aren't telling your team and not telling you what real problems are, you can't really help your community. We had an issue.
I like the way that looks, and because it's simple and it's clear.
The internet wasn't a problem with one family that at my school. We provided Chromebooks, we provided Wi-Fi in our city, and this one kid still wasn't coming on. So I'm like, I called the parent, and I'm like, we got Chromebooks. What's the problem? Why are they coming on doing the work? The mom said to me, and I praised her for being comfortable enough saying it to me. Well, I was told that if something happens to the Chromebook while in my possession, I'm going to have to pay for it. I'm going to have to replace it, just like if something happens to a book in order for my son to graduate. I said, well, yeah, you got to take good care of it or whatever. She tells me that she didn't feel confident having a computer in her home because the people in her home, somebody might steal the computer. So it's like, what do you think of that? Here's the parent telling me, yeah, I want my son to do work. But if we bring that computer in his house, it's going to go missing. And I don't have the money to replace it. So what do you say to that? So that's an issue that she put me dead in my tracks. I didn't have
Okay, there was no way for me to be forward thinking. I felt like Santa Claus giving out.
You know what I would say to that?
No, hold on, Kyle. Here's what I'm saying. Yo, Kyle.
Okay.
Kyle, you know how you can easy adjust? You the boss, right? You the principal?
Yeah.
That ain't true. Don't even worry about it. If something happens, let me know, and I'll make sure.
Because if it goes missing, you call the police, right? So you don't want to, plan for the worst, where okay, we're not going to have access to all of the, devices that's here for free. What we're going to do is take advantage of it, and then as we're crossing that bridge, we ain't crossing it, we're building it. So therefore, if we're concerned is somebody going to steal it, I get it. But you might have been there, done that. But first, let him get on it. If somebody takes it, the only responsibility you have is to say, sorry, NYPD, somebody took it, and that absolves her of the responsibility. That will give her at least some kind of feeling like that, holding that head over. Because it's one thing to, to be a mom, another thing to be a single mom, another thing to be in a home where you don't even feel safe. So there's multiple levels of things that are really happening there. But at least give her a sense of comfort. She will not be responsible.
Let me jump in there again real quick, Simone. As I said, as a principal, it's our job to make her feel that she's not the one at fault here. Like, we got to make her feel it's already a tough time for everybody. So, Kyle, you as a principal has to say to her, nah, Ma, don't even worry about that. I got you. You know what I'm saying? We've said that enough. I said that enough as a principal to make people feel extremely comfortable about this. So it's all right to tell her that, because guess what, Kyle? If you say to her, don't worry about it, then guess what she gonna do? Not worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of cool.
Go ahead, get X and then Chad. Chad, jump in after X.
So quickly that I'm going to get out of here, but thank you all for letting me participate. I don't see very many Black entrepreneurs and education minds in our profession, so it's really good to see that. But quickly, so when I was talking about my father-in-law building in Harlem, I was really impressed about what he did to the building. It's not a school. He made it kind of like a school. We put a computer room in the building that had about 50 computers in it, so the kids were working with computer school. Then my wife decided to put a flower shop, a flower business in the building, because people can work in the flower shop and they were selling flowers to them, so they were actually selling flowers and making money. The kids started coming a lot just to work in the flower shop. We make their own flower arrangements and then sell them and make money. Then we put a studio in the building.
That's interesting. Good part too.
Yeah. And then we decided to put a store in the building. And the kids worked on how to budget the store, stock the store, manage the store.
Yeah, I told him.
And they learned how to be entrepreneurs. And then we put a dance class in there to have dance. So
you sure there's nothing in the
foundation actually came a multi-million business.
That's what it's pretty bad for you.
365 days a week.
Okay. Alright, cool.
From my point of view,
no, there's nothing he needs to move in the gym.
One of the things that hit me the most in the last 25 years was
the pull-up band?
Really, really probably the most beautiful thing. And while I was talking to him, he looked at me straight in my face and said, if I had somebody like you when I was 15, I would not have been doing
the clench machine that you could do pull-ups on the back.
What that said to me again was that a lot of the kids that go on teams don't see enough people like yourselves outside of yourself. So you want to do a fantastic job as mentors. But there needs to be some more people like yourselves outside the school, teachers, whatever, who can really take you to school with a few more themselves. And that kind of an echo to what I saw the statistics earlier this year about
with the Run DMC thing?
The young black boys and young black people too.
Would they like that or not?
That was really important to me because obviously I didn't have any black people when I was growing up, people in other schools. So we don't have role models besides you all. You all are doing fantastic, but I think you should not take for granted that we need more of you where you are. So not just in the administrative role, but lined up and cross-border people. Line up cross-border stuff. Bring in other teachers there so that these kids see
put on like a
what they
white tag
can
or
be.
something.
then that will help you.
That's how we have on tag.
So it's like algebra. Symbolism is important. That's what we got to make everybody mad. But cross schools and living and everything else, a lot of it's symbolism, a lot of it's real, a lot of it's symbolism. So it's important to me, from what I'm hearing from my clients, that they just don't see it enough, they're not around it enough. And I tell them the school is the most important part of our community. Churches, schools. So you guys keep going, but I just think if we can find some kind of way to get more,
like maybe put that in the circle. It's like, okay.
Look like themselves and doing what you're doing inside the schools, I think that would help it get.
Good looking, X. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you for that. Hey, Chad, I'm going in, Chad. Let's let Chad.
What I would say is, just in examining, and first of all, thank you for this opportunity. This is my 5th week here. I think the first time that I've spoken, maybe second. Just in examining just my own pedagogy around what all the things that we've been talking about for 5 weeks, at least that I've been here. How does this actually kind of manifest itself into what will actually happen in our individual schools? Because the one thing that tends to happen sometimes in sessions like this, there are lots of great ideas that get thrown out, but we don't necessarily talk about, so how do we take all the stuff that we say here today and then that manifests itself in our schools when we get back in the fall? And so I would say to my students, just my approach to teaching is I have 2 responsibilities. One is to teach my students how to navigate the world as it is, and then the second is to empower them to change it into the world that it needs to be. Because we actually need to be able to do both. Because as I think Asia was saying earlier, we do have the limitations of the boards of education that we all respectively work for. And so I can put all of these great things in place that are going to empower my students and are going to set them up to get out into the real world and be successful. But as a high school teacher, I still, and I teach English and writing, I still need my students to pass assessments that are coming out every quarter. I still need them to turn in work. I still need them to pass quizzes. And I can't be so engaged in all these great ideas that I have that I abandoned, even though I don't necessarily believe them. And my principal's on the line with me. He can tell you better than anybody. I frequently just say I don't believe in that shit and figure out ways to not do it. And to do what I want to do anyway. And my students have done really just amazing things with it. So just as an example, in the writing course that I'm teaching this year, my kids made it very clear in the first 2 weeks of school that they didn't want to write essays, they weren't interested in any of these short stories, they wasn't interested in any of these, frankly, right people that they saw in some of this stuff. They wanted to do something else. They said they want to write a movie. They actually wrote a movie. It's a crazy movie. They wrote a movie about a student like them at an alternative school in the inner city who's raised by a single parent and realizes, wait for it, that his father, who's been missing all along, is his history teacher who also happens to be transgender. That's what these kids spent 6 months for, and they actually wrote it.
Send me that movie. Send me that movie.
As exciting as it is for you guys to write a movie and how dope that is, and I had kids working on the sound team and kids working on the soundtrack and kids working on the production, I still needed you to have a physical piece of paper with all this shit written down. Like, we can't just sit here every day and talk about this. You have to operationalize the stuff that we're talking about. And that sometimes is the piece that I feel is missing. So I would love it if there was a barbershop in our school, but how do we actually get one?
Absolutely. So let me jump in there, Chad. So what I'm doing, and so when Moody's your principal?
Yes.
So
how about let's see that with the
circles? So you and Moody take a look at his budget, right?
Yeah.
And begin to take a close look at what money's being spent on what, right? And be able to ask yourself, we're not asking you to take out anything. We're just asking you to find a way to add things in. So I'm not telling you to take away your writing program. I'm not telling you to take away your ELA program. I'm not telling you to take away your science program. What I'm saying to you is that in the event that it's not in our budget, then let's go for a grant. Let's go to our local senator. Let's go to our politician. Let's go get that stuff that we need, because the fact of the matter is that's what makes good schools great, is that when they're willing to go above and beyond and do the things that the community actually needs. So Chad, I'm not at all telling you, and I think I'll wrap this part of the conversation up by saying, look, What I said from earlier is that leaders ought to be school leaders ought to be community leaders. And if you know there's a need for a barbershop in your school, it is your responsibility to look at your budget and find a way, whether it's through your local, whether it's your budget, whether it's through talking to politicians, whether it's through talking to people like Dame Dash, whoever it gotta be, and say, listen, we got a problem here in my school. My kids are coming to school, they can't afford haircuts, I need your help. That's what leaders will do that other leaders won't do. You know what I'm saying? Community leaders will.
And I agree with you. And I'm fortunate in that, and I've had many kind of crazy ideas, and Moody absolutely supports me in all of the stuff that I try to do.
Check it out the circle. See
it's not just this. I mean, he lets me come to school I come to school every single Friday in the school year dressed up like a superhero, and scream the announcement. And he has also given me the freedom this year. My kids wanted to learn about food. I was literally cooking in a crock pot underneath my desk in the classroom, and letting the kids cook. Kids are coming in at 7:30 in the morning to learn how to cook. And then, I mean, thank God we didn't burn the school down, because we were literally plugging in a giant crock pot and stuffing it underneath my desk, because that was where the outlet was. So I'm fortunate in that Moody is totally on board. If the idea makes sense and we can figure out how to make it work, he is 100% run with it. But when I talk about operationalizing it, because in our district where we have 30,000 students, it isn't enough for our Moody Academy to do it for the 50 kids we serve. When we've got 30,000 kids in the district, we've got to figure out how to take the same energy that exists between, say, myself and Mr. Moody and make that pervasive for the other 30,000 kids who I don't see every day.
I got you. And I think it's important. I think it's important for us to understand that me as a former principal, and I have people in the room that was with me, there was nothing that I felt we couldn't accomplish. Nothing. If a parent told me they couldn't come to work, they couldn't bring their child because they didn't have a Metro card. Now he will tell you, Sparzak will tell you, Eddie will tell you. Those people are in this room right now. If I heard that a parent could not come to school because I couldn't bring their child to school because they needed a Metro card because they didn't have it. Naya, what did I tell you? Sparzak, what did I tell you?
We had to go get them a Metro card. We would go and buy Metro cards to give to that family.
And even if that meant coming out of our own pocket, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Sparzak? Sparzak?
Come on, man. Don't bring me in here.
Yeah, so Sparzak, I'm gonna say this because last week we kicked somebody out because we didn't know who they were. People been texting me all day asking me, yo, who's Brian Sparzak? So, but you did work with us, Sparzak, and you did see what it took to put this work in, right? And we did above and beyond. Am I correct?
That's correct, man. That's correct.
What are the hours that we put in, Sparzak?
Too many, man.
We were
endless.
7:30 to 7:30.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We could say 8 o'clock. We could say 8 o'clock. There was times when I went furniture shopping for a parent who needed furniture for her living room. So
listen, y'all, the reason why I'm saying this stuff to y'all, I'm not telling you to do something that I didn't do. I'm telling you this because that's what it's going to take to turn your school around. It's going to take somebody who's willing to say, you know what? I got to make those sacrifices. Naya is in the room right now. Naya will tell you how many Christmases I went and spent thousands of my own dollars to make sure that kids had stuff for Christmas because I knew the parents couldn't get it. Out of my own pocket, not my budget. And I'm saying that to y'all because I'm not telling you to spend all your money. What I'm telling you is that it takes a different kind of leader to say, damn, I know what the problems are and I gotta fix it. The one thing that would always say to us, yo, fix the problem, we reimburse you later. Right now, we gotta fix the problems in our schools. And that's it. Like, that's ultimately what I'm getting at. And this, again, is not a conversation we can have in one sitting, but I at least want to wrap it up and say again that I need us to acknowledge the fact that if you are not yet a community leader in the school making changes, then it's time for us to start doing something. I'm passionate about that.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
How you guys are doing? I'm piggybacking off of something Dan said. All right, so I get the whole concept of the principals wanting kids to be successful and everything. Not a problem I'm having, but success is not just graduating college, the whole 9 yards. To me, I finished high school, and that's as far as I went. I went to college, and to Dame's point, I realized that school was about finishing. This is my concept. School was about finishing and landing a job that made me money. I had a 3-hour break in between one of my classes in college. In them 3 hours, I would break up money in the shop. And then one day I had a moment and said, you know what? I'm going to school. I'm racking up debt. But this 3-hour break, I'm making money, right? So what's the point? So what I'm trying to say is life skills, right? So what Dennis, what Dame is saying, and I agree, is we're not relative sometimes. Like in the shop, kids, we come in the shop, the barbershop is a fashion show. But to the community, that's relative. A teacher coming in with a suit and tie is not relative. No attack on anyone, because I get it. But what I'm saying is, thinking like a kid, they think teachers are rich. You got a house, you got a mortgage. To them, you're rich. So you're not reaching that kid, because he got to go home to the roaches, and she got to the poverty that we all know, but they don't know we know that. So what life skills can we teach them? So let's just say this kid, he's a struggling student. I was a C student. 65, man, I was happy. You couldn't talk to me about that 90 student. The valedictorian, I never seen her in school. All my mind was on survival, life skills. So my thing is being a little more relative to the kids, like what the female was saying, my sister was saying about being the new lit. These kids, the schools are losing the battle. In my mind, what I'm seeing on the streets to what the kids are seeing on the internet. So if we're not going to be relative with them and start joining their world, like you said, Fortnite and video games and things, these kids are consumed by these technologies. You know what I'm saying? So if we're not going to be in their world, we're going to lose them. You know what I'm saying? And this is real stuff.
Absolutely. And so what I get, I just want to again make the connection with community. If I'm out there,
100%.
I know what I need to do in my school.
100%.
So I want people to get. I'm going to keep saying it and saying it and saying it, and I don't care how many different ways we hear it. But at the end of the day, bring it right back to is that we know what's going on in our communities. Then we can actually bring those things into school, so that our students actually have the resources they need to make a choice whether or not they're going to finish school and go to college, or whether or not they're going to finish high school and go get a job. That's completely up to them. But what I want us to do is be able to know what are those things that are preventing kids from even getting that far. And so the community and being aware of what community awareness is everything is completely important. So I just think that whether those conversations are had or not, I need to say it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta say it. I'm going to give Lays one last word, and then I'm gonna wrap it up.
I'm here, man. Listen, first of all, thank you everybody for coming. But I hear all your problems. I hear all the things that you're concerned about. And I think Dennis heard that earlier. I call him the principal whisperer because he heard all that stuff, which is the reason why we put this forum together. Never before has there been a coalition of powerful leaders together, because that's how we're going to make change. The problem is you guys have been all on your own lily pads, fighting these wars almost by yourself, getting together 2 or 3 at a time to fight these battles. But the reason is we put off school ground together so that you could help you fight those battles, because the power is in the coalition. And also, and that wasn't enough, we went and got the brother Dame Dash, who understands how to make business and how to do mogul things and to expose it to the media in certain ways. And we put brothers like Calvin Klein and Big Daddy Kane and Chuck D into your sites. Just understand that you ain't alone. And even when we don't do off-school grounds, we get together and attack problems that are hurting our community. As a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, we helped the senator from Indiana, Eddie Milton, deal with a racism issue that he's dealing with one of his committee members. This, pardon my language, is real. We ain't fucking around. At the end of the day, when it comes down to putting this war down, I know how to put the war down. You guys know how to put the plan together. And between me, Dane, Dennis McKeezy, Dr. Smalls, everybody that's part of this coalition, we're going to go ahead and get this money and do what we got to do. When we say get this money, we mean to get this progress. and we're gonna change a lot of thoughts. So please feel free to communicate, and just know, man, y'all superheroes, y'all the Avengers, y'all the rock stars. That shit is real. We fighting this battle together. So listen, everybody, thank y'all for coming out today. Calvin, salute to you, brother. Yeah, and Damon, thank you. And Dennis, I love you, man. You know what it is. And I'm about to leave, brother. You know what it is.
No question. And yo, listen, and again, I'm going to drive the point home again. Community leadership. That's what this is about. Know what's happening in the community and let's address it. All I'm getting at is that there is no difference in me asking a politician to do something and asking you to do something. At the end of this conversation, it's never going to end without us recognizing that we are the change that we are talking about. We are the change. I don't need everybody to change it. If one person changes it, and then you create a task force of people to help you, you got it. So I just don't want us to keep putting ourselves and our children in these positions where we know that there's a problem happening in our communities and we don't address it before the next pandemic or the next crisis hit. You got what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate everybody for coming through. I definitely, didn't mean for it to be this long, but I know this is a conversation we can't just have just once. And if I didn't get a chance to get your question, I'm sorry, and I'll make sure that we jump on it next week. Dame, you in the room?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Dame, you got something to say before we get out of here, bro?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's always impactful. Everything that everyone's saying are things that, I'm not bound or strapped down to anybody. I could do it. So I take these ideas and I'm going to just apply them. I think the thing about, for me, turning school into a television network run by black principals and running that curriculum. So instead of calling it programming, you're calling it curriculum. But it's programming, and that's what curriculum is anyway. It's programming. And the curriculum that they're giving us is to program us, for me, to fit into that debt, slavery, retirement, work 9 to 5, and survive. But we can teach them and make a new school. Again, the school is the network, and also within the network, giving these kids the opportunities to make money while they're children. Like that script that the principal was talking about, I want to read that. I'll make it, and that kid could get some money for that. Or, have some cool competitions within the schools. Who got the best merch, and have these kids design it and make it and sell it. Socks cost $5 to make. You sell them for $20. You know what I mean? It's just like selling bingo. Those tickets, the raffle tickets. So the point is, y'all care. And also, together, there can be some serious action. Because if y'all give me the ideas, I can make it happen. Y'all write me the TV shows, I'll make them. Y'all send me the movies, I'll make them. Y'all send me the video games, and I'll try to get them made. And it'll be for us. It'll be a business. Turn it into a business. Because the kids don't respect nothing but who's getting the most money, period. Right. And that's all I ever respected. I'm going to say it again. In that moment, the smartest person is the one that figured out how to get the most money to a kid. And that's all the kid wants to do. I know a kid only wants, like as a dude, all I wanted was girls to like me. The only way girls like me was if I was getting money. Or if I was putting up 50. I wasn't putting up 50. So I needed to be getting money. So if you teach those kids how to get money, they'll be engaged. And, again, the programming, teach me how to make programming. Let's turn it into a network. Let's turn this into a television network. Let's make movies. Let's turn everything entertainment into education. And everything education into entertainment. Y'all can write, the notes that I got were way beyond any notes and better than most notes that I got from professionals. Y'all principals. So just think about what it looks like if y'all have a television network. We can go be one. I am one. So give me my challenge, and I promise you. Look, I'm right here. You can show it. I'm right here designing the merch the whole time. I went through a bunch of different logos. But if you give me a movie, you give me the shows, I'll make them. Y'all star in them. If y'all want me to show you how to sell some merch, make some merch, I'll pass all my plugs. So you have the resources to a business as well. Turn your education into a business, and I'll help you. I'll partner up with y'all. Anything. You can't lose.
Exactly my point.
You can't lose. So if anybody, any principal want to need a barbershop, let me know. I might just go ahead and we can do it together.
And I'll provide the barbers.
Like if the government won't take care of us, we can take care of us. We don't need the government. Like what I'm loving is I'm watching California not listening to Donald Trump at all. It does what it wants. Y'all can do that. Y'all can do what y'all want in the schools, but what you doing off school grounds, that's on y'all. It's legal. Y'all can be a school, a program, a network, a movie company, everything y'all just said. I'll plug it in. Let me know.
We don't have to go to the barbershop. We can go anywhere. So if Cruz is going to provide the barbers, then you're going to shoot it. People are going to have a conversation. You have about 2-3 pages of principal locations because we can all customize it based on our particular communities. Because McKenzie said it earlier, the poverty that exists over on Jamaica Ave is different than exists off of Seagirt Boulevard. The poverty that exists in Newark on the west is different than Newark on the east. Poverty is poverty, but if we're saying that you're like, okay, we're gonna now put it together a documentary because we're looking like in the minds of, in the eyes of, and what's real. Because again, Vision is 2020, and that's the year that we're in. If anybody else is in here is willing to pull that together, I'm willing to find out the space as long as I make sure I stay on payroll and there's no conflict of interest.
I like that big
and I'm
too.
gonna take what Dave said and I'm wrapping up. So what Dave basically said is same thing that he's been saying. Y'all have the idea, he'll help make that thing work. Y'all all got my email address. Those of you who don't have it yet, in the chat, I've been saying so that you can put your email. If there's something that you want me to get over to Dane, if there's something you want me to get over to Calvin Klein, if there's something that you want me to get to different people, yo, email me. Email me.
Well, I'm still waiting on Anisha to get at me.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
I'm still waiting on Anisha. I'm still waiting on Moody. I'm still waiting on my brother to get at me.
Or either in the back.
I'm putting them on the spot. You know, because I'm here to serve.
No doubt. So I think what I'm going to say in closing, right, that I want us to begin to understand that whatever we decide are the issues in our community, and we're willing to address them, there are people that are willing to help that, help that to come to pass. So just embrace that, y'all. Embrace that. Don't walk out of here feeling like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? Identify the problems in your community and ask, how can I, Dennis, how can you help me to change that? Dennis, who can you get to help me to fix that? That's why I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just doing the show just to do a show. Like, that was never the intention. I was a former principal. I'm always going to be a principal. So I'm always going to be. But I'm telling you, the success that I've encountered over my years had a lot to do with my mentality of, the community is where I'm supposed to be. That's my heart. My heartbeat is the community. So the moment my community is not functioning, then I stop functioning as the principal. So that's why I brought this conversation to the forefront. This is why sometimes it gets a bit rough to have these conversations. But I want people to know, if you're doing it, keep doing it. If you're not doing it, then start doing it. And those of you who are already doing this, make it better. All right, so I don't want to belabor the point. Again, I'm talking about principals and school leaders, principal and school leaders are community. There is no distinguishable difference between the two if you're going to be successful. So let's identify the problems. Again, y'all got my email address. Anybody who emails me, need my phone number, you got that. So please, if there's a question that you have, or something that I didn't address, please email me, text me, or whatever, and I'll definitely get back to you. So thank y'all for coming. I appreciate y'all so very much. I didn't imagine it growing to the place that is growing right now, but we are definitely making history in what we're doing. And I ask that you continue to ride out with me, scale to each other. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate y'all. Those of you, I know a lot of y'all like to stay behind.
So we have the meeting after the meeting.
So we over here we designing. We designing while we working.
on.
you know, just knock this shit out.
Hey, yo,
Get
Pete,
it done.
send me your number and your email, Dave.
You
Gotcha,
know.
no doubt. I'm gonna do it right now, Cam. All right.
You know what
You
I
heard
mean?
me, lady?
You said, baby? To everybody. See you next time. I'm on it.
And you know, we're working. You feel me? And just get smart people together. You see what you get out of that. You can hear a lot of good ideas.
I didn't get a chance to finish telling the rest of that story.
You know?
People wanted to.
No doubt. Tell the story. Don't start. Go ahead, ladies.
That was good feedback everybody was giving me. When I was referring to, I got frozen in that moment. So when the conversation led to this other way, a laptop.
Oh, here we go. Hey, I'm gonna call y'all back. I'm gonna get back.
If you want another amazing video with the one and only Dame Dash, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.